Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here. Power recapper, barrel scraper, rubbish boy Dave, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News. And we've got Rachel Lindsay responding to Matt James in the release of his new book where he says, "The Bachelor done did me dirty." And, of course, I'm sure Rachel's going to sort of jump on that with her own opinions, as we love when she does. So do me a favor, follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I got some new stand-up comedy clips there. And also on Patreon for all the private membership community, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Catch all my extra live streams. Gosh, we probably do an extra 10 hours a week, right? We're just crushing it. So let's get into it. I'm going to play the clip. We'll stop it where we see fit. If you want to watch the whole clip, go to Higher Learnings on their June 14th video, and you can go watch the full thing. Otherwise, I'm going to pause it where I see fit and give my opinion that nobody asked for. All right, let's get into it.
All right. It's the big deal of the day. I'm not sure how it happened. Matt James explained how The Bachelor failed him and his story. You know what? Rachel.
No, I did not put this topic in the rundown. Keep going.
Rachel, how could I?
Rachel knows that every once in a while you want to get your views up. You talk a little trash about the show. Hey, we all love that. Speak your truth. I'm just speaking my truth.
This is your jam. What's going on with Matt James and The Bachelor, Rachel?
First of all, I need you to start using past tense when you refer to me in The Bachelor. It was my jam.
Damn. He's like, oh, shoot. That's right, past tense. And people in the comments are going to go, then why is she still talking about it? I don't know. Don't you have an ex you still talk about?
I'm retired.
Fair enough.
So for those of you who don't know, Matt James wrote a book. It's called First Impressions and something else. I'm not sure the full title. I really wish this was a time where I wish we had him on the podcast, because I have more questions than I do answers in regards to this. But there are a lot of revelations that have come out, and he's done a couple of interviews, and he has been speaking about his time on The Bachelor. And he's disappointed. He doesn't like the way that he's portrayed.
Hold on.
He doesn't like the way that people talked about
get
him.
out of there.
He feels that a lot of important and meaningful and relevant conversations were left out of away from the viewers. He said he had these conversations, but the show chose not to show them.
All right, so we're going to break that up for a second here. We have a new Patreon member here, Jen. She goes, oh my gosh, this is what it's like. That's right. She's watching behind the scenes on Patreon as the sausage is made. She says, this is awesome. Trust me, the rest of the Patreon says, it gets kind of boring. Now we listen to some music and we talk a lot of trash.
Thought that the show would basically promote him, almost as if they would show all the things that he's doing off camera that are successful and how ambitious he is. And instead, they showed him as what a lot of viewers said was boring and bland. He said that some viewers even call him an Uncle Tom. He says that he had a van. He said that he had a very meaningful Van. He said that he had a very...
Van, get yourself together.
For over an hour with Chris Harrison.
He's gone.
And he poured his heart out to him about all the pressures that he was facing because he was the first Black Bachelor. And he said that, Van, come back.
Van?
He said that he had an immense amount of pressure that he felt being the first Black Bachelor, and it was unfair to him. And he spoke with Chris Harrison about it. That wasn't really shown at great length. He just talks about the true him didn't come out on the show, and he's disappointed on that. And he didn't realize he was the first Black Bachelor, but once he did, he thought this was a chance for diversity. And
see, you go on The Bachelor thinking your truth will be told. The Bachelor is like a dishwasher in the sense that, yeah, you're going to get your dishes kind of clean, but they're not going to come out. You know, there's going to be residue left behind. And I think Matt James realizes there's some residue left behind after his story was told.
For the show to expand in that way and blah, 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 blah. And, this is him now telling his story.
First of all, hilarious. I don't know why that was funny. The way that you put that. He said people thought he was an Uncle Tom.
That's what he said.
Okay, I don't know why he put that. Okay. Secondly, a lot of people listening to this right now would expect me to pile on Matt James right here. No. I know what this feels like. I know what it feels like to be in a room, a television production, with all white people, not understanding the landscape of what's going on in there, not understanding how you make your voice heard in there, and not understanding how you represent your authentic self there. The only difference between me and Matt James is, number one, I could never, ever be considered some of the things that they say him. But there's another difference. I was on this show for 9 years.
TMZ.
And was able to perfect finding my voice and was able to perfect the art of direct and engaging resistance. You resist them, you call them out, but you make it TV. You do it in a way that's so compelling. Telling someone fuck you is one thing. Telling somebody fuck you with flair is a skill.
That's
right?
funny.
It's a skill.
That's funny.
Matt was only on the
It's like the Buzz Lightyear. I'm falling with style. Fuck you with flair. Yeah, look, in Matt James, it's like he got sort of conned in a way where he thought he'd have one side of his story told. It wasn't, and there's no redo. And it's like, that's that. So fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, the old George Bush saying. You get it.
For a short amount of time. Pretty much, if you're on a show that short amount of time, you are what they say you are. Like, if you're on a show for as many years as I was on TMZ, at some point, your personality is going to break through. They just can't edit you that much. At some point, but if you've got, what are you guys on there for? 3 months? Something like that?
Less than that, but sure.
They have an inordinate amount of power to edit you in a way that makes you look the way they want you to. And in this situation, they probably have so much riding on, their cash cow of a show.
Wake up, Rachel. She looks like she's been awake for 22 hours. I'm kidding. No, she's yawning right there. I paused it at a nice moment. Yeah, look, it's like being on Bachelor. It's like playing a game of chess, but they get the last move always. And that's what you get having the edit. It's like when you work for any company, they're going to have the last move.
They're not going to put anything in there that makes you look subversive or like you have questions or like you have concerns. Anything that doesn't play with the status quo, they'd be apt to take it out. So I actually feel Matt here. I feel what he's talking about. I know people were expecting me to get you don't.
I didn't say that.
Yes. So what's your, my opinion matters significantly less than yours.
Tell us, Rachel.
No, it doesn't. And I think people will be interested in the fact that you didn't pile on, even though you came into this segment talking about it's time to do the weenie roast.
They call Matt James a weenie.
Hasn't been used in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I understand everything that you're saying.
By the way, God bless them for having quality equipment, pro headphones. I have the same ones. I don't use them as often because, I think it's nicer for me to have the, to have my headphones. But like, I've got these set up right. You know what? In solidarity with them, I'm going to take out my ear monitors and I'm going to put on my nice studio monitors, Sony MDR 7506s.
I have been in those spaces in real life, and I've been in that space in this very franchise as the Bachelorette.
Sure,
my issue with not just Matt James, but other Bachelor contestants and leads is that when they come off the show, they become revisionists. And they see things in a way that they didn't necessarily happen because they're either trying to promote themselves in a better light or they're getting the reviews and comments from other people. And so they're more so trying to have a narrative that fits or combats what people say about them.
So she's talking about Matt James, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like she's talking about Tayshia too, right? I'm not making this about Tayshia, but I kind of feel like she's talking about Tayshia. Blink twice, Rachel, if I'm right. Oh, she blinked twice.
Here's my thing. Matt James's season was different in particular because of the woman that he chose and her past actions and the allegations that were in her. So he had to deal with that as well, with Rachel, who he's still with, and they seem to be as happy as can be.
Wait. What?
Yeah,
They're
he's still
together
with her.
now?
Yeah.
Yes. So some
They're traveling the world. They're super happy. They're sharing love. They're doing charity work. They're a good fit. They overcame a hell of a lot, though.
Some of these things with Matt James, exactly. Some of these things with Matt James are, we're watching what you did on the show, how you were in the finale. I'm taking conversations that I had with you off camera, and it doesn't add up with some of the things that you're now saying in this book.
Now, listen, for what it's worth, gun to my head, favorite alumni of all time. Now, I'm friends with Katie Thurston, so I'm not going to put her in this group. But one of my favorite alumni of all time, like if I had to go on a boating trip with somebody or like, an extended event, I think it could be Rachel Lindsay. I think intellectually, and it could be the lawyer background, her ability to kind of talk through things and really cut into it. I know she's not everybody's cup of tea, and who is, but I think I appreciate intellect more than anything when it comes from the show.
I get it. You got to sell books. I get it. You want to paint a certain narrative and you want to combat some of the things that people say about you. But Van, you've been in these spaces before. Rachel, you've been in these spaces before. Would you have had that conversation with your dad on camera?
No.
Exactly.
Fuck no. But also, though, just to be real with you,
Big time calling Matt out here. The conversation that Matt had about absentee father, and they had those, but they might have had a lot of different conversations. But Matt was surprised by his father on the show, which they were criticized for playing into the absentee father trope. Which, hey, look, I enjoy those conversations, but again, I'm coming at this from a white guy, but I enjoy those conversations because I did have an absentee father. I didn't know my father growing up. So for me, whenever I see those conversations, I'm fascinated by it, but I don't have the same projections onto me as somebody of color who might. Does that make sense?
I wouldn't have had that conversation with my dad on camera, but there would have been no opportunity to. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. There's a difference. There's a difference. And so I do believe, and I do know that Matt had conversations with some of the Black women about race. But to my knowledge, from what I know from the inside, you didn't have an in-depth conversation with Rachel. And I believe you publicly admitted that as well, which is why you ran into some of her ignorance and didn't know certain things about her, or she wasn't as educated about Black culture or didn't understand certain things because you didn't have those conversations. And it's fine if you've had them now, but don't try to go back and act like you did when you didn't. And I know you didn't have those conversations with her. And that's, again, I don't want to be redundant, but it's fine if y'all are having them now. It's fine if she's learned now, but you're trying to, I personally feel like some of it is a bit of a stretch because you're trying to combat some of the negative feelings people have about you. You also said the show didn't show his personality. We did see it come out. You were TikTok dancing in the middle of a date. You were showing somebody your dinosaur backpack on a date.
Yeah, but maybe everyone's got this problem with their personality not truly being shown. Even Katie Thurston, take her for example, because that takes this race conversation out of it. With Katie Thurston, things got so serious that the show showed so much drama that you forget about all the lighthearted moments. So I'm sure that happens to every lead, but we know for sure now that he's not in that situation where he's dating a dozen women. We know for sure now that his social media is way more playful than what we saw on the screen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw it.
The dancing has always been a concern.
We did see his personality.
I like the dancing.
But I will say this. Matt James came into the show, had never been on it before. So I think his expectations about how the show worked were different. The show is not about promoting you and showing how ambitious or successful you are. The show is about showing your relationship with these women and their relationship with each other.
All right, so she gives him some grace, saying, look, he wasn't on the show already, so let's extend him a little bit of grace here. Hey, that makes sense.
That's just the show. That's just the way the show works. So I get you being disappointed if that's what you thought it was going to be, but that's just not how the show is. So, the good thing is he's happy now with who he wants to be with. That's the good news. Some
even labeled him an Uncle Tom. That's funny, man. That's funny.
But
I'm
like,
sorry.
I just
that's funny to me.
But you know what,
That's
Van?
funny, man.
Did we cover his season or did we not? We didn't cover his season, but like we
can't
talked
remember.
about it.
We did. No, of course we did, because we talked about because the whole Weenie thing is Matt James, right?
Right, we did.
So
but
we
like,
had to have
also,
talked about.
we wouldn't have had. We talked about that conference. We wouldn't have talked about that conference. We talked about.
All right, we're gonna cut it there. All right, so yeah, some of the people in the chat think she's being hard on Matt James, and maybe she is, and maybe maybe it comes down to some of the other conversations that Rachel has had with other leads of the show, saying you didn't. Well, we can say this. The place where I think I can agree with Rachel is the revisionist history, or what we call Monday morning quarterbacking. It's the idea that you watch a football game on Sunday and then the next day you're like, dude, they should have done this or they should have done that. Oh, I'm sure there's a hell of a lot of things Matt wishes he did, but it doesn't take away from the fact that his relationship was overrun by the issues that hit the media, and the show stoked that flame versus addressing it with Rachel Kirkconnell. All those things happened that made a lot of variables. What I think is good after just reading one of the chapters in the book is that we get to hear about Matt James not mentioning Chris Harrison by name, not trying to stoke that storyline or stoke other storylines. He does a really good job in his book of saying that while he was disappointed, he doesn't place like major blame on them. So I understand they have to talk about it, and I appreciate what they have to say. I truly do. I think it's sadly up to the contestants to showcase who they think they actually are on their social media after the season has aired, because we get a misrepresentation or a partial representation of who they are throughout the season. Of course, who I would be as the lead of The Bachelor would not be who I am in everyday life, because as the lead of The Bachelor, I'm dealing with production and dozens of women. I'm trying to make everyone happy and be a people pleaser. To be quite honest, I watched Clayton's season and I saw myself as a people pleaser that would have probably made some of those same moves to just be honest with people, tell them how I feel about it, and that would lead to leading people on and getting. So I watched this going, boy, I don't pretend to think I would have handled it any better. And of course, with Matt James being the first Black Bachelor, especially being put into a position and shot up the ranks. Minor league would be like if you're a contestant on The Bachelorette and you go to Bachelor in Paradise and then you become the lead. He went from single A, minor league baseball, and he got called up to the big leagues, never did any of the other things that would kind of help you get to know how the show works. And kind of, they got to play him a little bit. All right, let me know what you guys think. Be kind in the comments. Don't be an a-hole. All right, folks, we'll talk to you a little bit. Go on the Patreon if you want to check out all the behind-the-scenes content. Bye, everybody.